Look, there are apologies for all the confusion starting out here today, but this is a new format. We're trying here, a committee of the whole format. So it's a little different than our structured city council meeting. But we still start out with citizen comments. I understand there's a lot of people here for the rec center, I believe. There's some sort of email that went out. We're not discussing the rec center tonight, but you're more than welcome to chime in on it if you wish during citizen comments. So if we do have any citizen comments, please step forward at this time. Yes.
Good evening, I'm Lynn Dubicek, and I'm here to provide to you another update on Push for the Path. I provided to each of you a summary sheet. As you see, we currently have 75 Power of One teams. That means there are 75 individuals, organizations, neighborhoods, just groups in general that have committed to raise or donate $1,000. Currently, out of that group of 75, we have collected $56,980. So that's almost $57,000 of that 75 has come in. Also, there has been a number of fundraisers in different areas where people could donate it to cash boxes and some raffles. We are selling t-shirts. I had the t-shirt on last time. We now have men's shirts available as well. And we have actually collected, as of today, $64,392. That is a significant number because that number represents more than the first 4 years commitment to the city of Yorkville. So we have enough that we have already collected to make those first 4 years payments. So year 5 is the big year, and that's now the next year that we're working on. We have 4 years already ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Any other citizen comments? Yes, sir.
No sign-in sheet. Mark Johnson, Yorkville.
Back on the table.
Well, I mean, first off,
We're talking.
a little way out. That's fine. I think everybody knows who I am. I really didn't have any planned comments for tonight, although I had read in the paper that tonight was going to be a discussion on the rec center. Obviously, the website shows it wasn't. And I'm not sure, from what I'm understanding, when that discussion is going to take place. So I think most of the people here would like to have that knowledge ahead of time, more than just a couple days. But I kind of wanted to comment about a few things. My main emphasis has always been about spending and uncontrolled spending or overspending what we have. It's never been a personal issue with any of you. It's been those that want to spend on things that I don't think are required. It's not a good time. And to kind of emphasize that, we had a little rally last week in the park. We had between 300 and 400 people show up. And some of them were from Oswego. Most, I think, were from Yorkville. But a lot of good discussions were held. Some of them were about the rec center and or whether we should do it. Some were about the Push for the Path. There was a lot of conversation going on. And a lot of people that misunderstood the tax rolls, the city, that most of the money goes to schools, and just a smaller amount goes to the city and county. But one of the first stories I heard was a lady, I'm not sure of her age, I'm guessing to be about 68, only because she said she'd been on the senior freeze for 3 years. And she lost her husband a year and a half earlier, lost his pension, and she was living on $10,000 Social Security. She had a one-bedroom townhome in Oswego, and her taxes were $2,000 a year. She had gone 3 years without having her taxes raised. This year they went up $500. 25% raise in her taxes. And now, instead of $8,000 a year to live on, she's got $7,500. And she says, I'm probably going to end up having to go into an assisted living or some senior center applying because I just can't keep paying this. And that was just one of the stories. There was a whole bunch more. A lot of people that were $12,000, $16,000 a year in property taxes. Their property taxes were higher than their mortgage payment. And we all know property taxes pay up for a lot of good things. But they also pay for some things like the rec center. And the sad part is that everybody tends to say, well, it's only $5 a month. It's only $1 a year. It's only $9.50. It really boils down to, there's people out there that are not. I mean, that $9.50, that dollar is probably giving them an extra meal. And I think the city needs to really take a hard look at this. It's not just going to be the city. Our group is going to be pushing real hard on the county, on the school districts, every organization to make cuts, not just let it go as it has been. I think that, I don't know how many people here would vote for the rec center, but I'm pretty sure that the majority of them here, you've seen a lot of their faces in the past, are not for the rec center. And all I can really say is we're going to be working real hard over the next whatever month, 2 months, whatever it takes you guys to make your decision, to rally people to stop the madness. This rec center is a wonderful thing. Bike paths are a wonderful thing. But the people in this town and this county are simply dying from the taxes. And if the state ever gets around to voting in and pushing the pensions back onto the municipalities, the local districts, our real estate taxes are just going to go skyrocket. So please consider and please listen to the people out here when they're saying, you know, enough's enough. Find a different way of doing it. I'm sure that Mr. Walker is not going to let that place go empty. And quite honestly, I think as one of them told me the other day, they said, do you know what it costs for a single person to go to the rec center a year? It's like $500. It's like $1,400 for a family. Now, most of you probably sit here and say, well, that's not so bad. But there's that lady that is 68 years old or thereabouts, and that's probably giving her groceries for the year, that $500. And just please consider that when you're taking this vote and listen to the people, because the people are getting very, very upset. And you know, you need to listen to them. It sounds like a good plan, but I'm telling you right now, $4 or $5 million it's going to cost the city over the life of that loan. It's not a good thing, especially with the bonds, owing another $500,000 to the county for the bridge. I can go on and on. You guys know where those finances are. Don't stick us any deeper in the hole. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Benson. That was a good rally. And just so everyone does know, we are going to be discussing the rec center in the next 3 meetings. The June, July, and August meetings, we will be discussing it. We'll have public hearings, so anyone can come and chime in on it. And then we're looking probably a vote in September. So there will be 3 public hearings, and everyone will have ample opportunity to chime in on it. Do we have any other citizen comments? Yes, sir.
Just to reiterate, to embellish on Mr. Johnson's words, the public, there is a website called Open the Books for the Good of Illinois that will show you where a bunch of expenditures go. He was speaking about the school expenditures at the very top of the list, and I have no clue who these folks are. There's Thomas Engler, District Superintendent, salary $350,154. Douglas Tremble, Assistant District Superintendent, $214,800. The list just goes on and on. You can see where our expenditures are. So if you want any more information, it's openthebooks.com. Your Honor, this evening I wanted to address you and let the council know and our citizens know that I attended the Illinois Republican Convention in Tinley Park this weekend and found out why voters need to be concerned. One of the things that I attended the very same rally that Mr. Johnson held, and a couple of things came to mind. Two citizens talked to me. One of them had told me they were a Democrat and had reminded me that when Democrats raise taxes and Republicans reach across the aisle, it hurts Democrat voters too. And that we need to speak for all of them and not just go along party lines. Another woman told me the same thing, and she spent about 20 minutes going through the process of how it had affected her. And not only did it affect her, the week before that, she had watched her neighbor get foreclosed on. She had no place to go. One of the things that we saw was just nothing but hypocrisy. There was Judy Biggert, who is pro-choice, has always made her case on privacy. The woman's choice to an abortion, it should be privacy. But what they forgot and did not tell us was that Judy Biggert also had a big stake in the airport scanners that you see at the airport that the TSA uses. So she's got Fourth Amendment protection on one hand for those who choose to get an abortion, and then for the rest of us citizens, when we go, we don't get that same protection from her. Another one was Christine Rodagano on the smart meters. People had asked me to check how much they had gotten in donations from ComEd. Christine Rodagano got $38,000, Kirk Dillard $19,000, Mike Jacobs $16,750. Those were the top three. There was also a Comcast flyer that was put in our goodie bag asking us to support Comcast. It's important to note that if you have a satellite, if you get satellite TV, there will soon be a 5% tax on that satellite TV for using that dish, using that service. That tax was passed by Senator Tom Cross. He did not, however, impose any taxes. A lot of the satellite TV is independent or goes with AT&T. Comcast had no taxes imposed on their services. So I checked out the campaign donations from Comcast, and the top three, Friends of Michael J. Madigan, $245,000, Citizens of Tom Cross, $140,000, Friends of Rod Blagojevich, $130,000. There is also, as you know, a $1 tax coming on a pack of cigarettes on June 24th. You're going to hear a lot that this was something that the Democrats pushed That's not true. I have a list of the voters of the Republicans that took that helped with that vote. I got a phone call and I was informed that Christine Radagano again led the charge on this tax. There was a caucus meeting to be held before the vote was taken. All the Republicans were in one room, and she announced that she had already promised 5 Republican votes to the Democrats. When people were objected, our Republican leadership scolded the people for objecting. Our problem in Springfield is we have lawmakers and no representatives.
Absolutely.
They had also said the Pledge of Allegiance, the Star Spangled Banner, and they had invoked prayer before the convention began, which a lot of people found offensive that they would do such a thing and then pull these kinds of shenanigans. There were a lot of people that were elected to office behind closed doors and committees, and we had no direct elections to work on. In summary, everything I saw, the Illinois versus GOP on Obamacare, no difference. The Democrats and our Illinois Republicans were the exact same thing. On new taxes that I just pointed out, the difference between the Illinois GOP and Obama on new taxes, no difference. The exact same thing. The transparency, we had, there was no programs as to who was running for what office. Everything was done in committee behind closed doors. There were no name placards, as you see here with your representatives, so you didn't know who was who. The difference between the Illinois GOP and Barack Obama, no difference. Fiscal transparency, no difference. Special interests and campaign funds, no difference. The hypocrisy fight between each other, no difference. Obama lame duck sessions, no difference. The way the elections were rigged and the way we accused Barack Obama of rigging elections, no difference. Everything was the exact same way. And I got to see it, and I got to hear people talking about it. There was the talk about money. We didn't get direct elections. Somebody had asked one of the operatives, so why did they table this? Why did they not give us the direct elections? The response from a Republican was, they do that all the time to keep the rich people in because our Illinois GOP leadership is broke. The party has no money whatsoever. I was asked not to talk about these things and that I shouldn't be talking bad about Republicans. But for me, I believe that I have to hold the people that I vote for accountable, and that each and every one of you has a right to know. I've also speak for the 2 women that talked to me and took the time to remind me that whether you're a Democratic voter, a Republican voter, an independent voter, we're all Illinois Americans, and each and every one of you has a right to the truth. Pat Brady had asked us at the end of the meeting not to talk about these issues, to stop talking about the Tea Party, stop calling people rhinos and everything, and that we need to move on to the elections. I disagree. I will not stop talking about them, and I will do whatever I can to keep the people informed. What they decide to do after that is up to them. As for Tom Cross, from what I saw, he's being set up by the Illinois GOP the establishment there. Somebody had asked me, well, if you have a choice between Michael Madigan and Tom Cross, which one are you going to pick? The answer is simple. Neither. They're both the same. And the excuse they kept giving me was that there are times that we have to reach across the aisle to get things done. I said, why would you vote to raise the tax with Democrats? We have to reach across the aisle to get things done. Okay, this evening, now I'm going to play the same game on them. Now I reach across the aisle to Democratic voters to help me clean up the mess that's down there in Springfield. Thank you very much. I yield the floor, Your Honor.
Thank you.
My name is Don Burks. I had the opportunity to go to a committee meeting in relationship to the rec center and trying to work something out possibly with the Y. I was really heartened by the fact that you're looking at different options, and this seemed to be one of the options. Obviously, it didn't come to any concrete decision, but I would guess being looking at it from the Y side, I could see why they would have many concerns at how this would work out. Also took some time and looked at the brochure that the rec center puts out, and I looked at all the activities that they put on and how many of them in that brochure actually don't take place at the rec center. And I was really pretty surprised. There's almost 50 programs that don't happen at the rec center. And there were certainly other programs that happen at the rec center that I saw that could happen other places. Quite a few of them were after school was out, like right now. So I would guess that schools would be available. Some of them utilize the small gym in the rec center. So I saw the possibility that the Y and interfacing with the city was a very viable idea, and I think maybe that should really be explored more and utilize not only the Y but the school. And I know the rec center already uses the school some, but it seems as though that if you really focus it down on just who actually, as adults, are using the rec center as a health club, it becomes a pretty expensive proposition for the city when you focus it on that. So, but I am heartened by the fact that you people are looking at the different options, and I think there's some out there, and I think we could really save some money and still offer up the programs for the community.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Or just for the record, the next ad hoc meeting is July 9th?
Yes.
Correct. For part of the ad hoc committee? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm David Allen from Rossetti's Pizza. I'm just here to say I'm in favor of the liquor code amendment, the extending the hours for sale and the video gaming license as well.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Chuck Sadiakos. I own a bar in Yorkville. And I'm married to, Anyway, I'm here tonight to discuss the problem we have for the hours. So, we close 1 o'clock and we don't really make money to support our business and pay everybody's employees. So I'm new to the town of Yorkville, and I'm very happy to be here. And I try my best to see if, we can hold the business and try to make a living and pay everybody and make the money for me, for my client. So, the other thing is I like to see if we can get the machines for, the camera. I know my English is not very good, but I try my best to explain myself. So, this is very important for the city. I think they're going to make money, and everybody will make a little money. And for us now, we close the bar 1 o'clock, and everybody go to the next town, 5 miles from here, and they open to 2 o'clock. And this is not fair, you know, because we're not making no money. I spend a lot of money here in the town, and I try to keep the doors open, but it's very hard. Thank you very much.
Any other citizen comments?
My name is Lisa Peterson. I live at 1001 Green Street. I'll try and keep my comments brief. First of all, I want to thank you, Gary, for letting us know with the rec center that there will continue to be further discussion and time for citizen comments. So I'm going to hold all my comments about the rec center for tonight. I just kind of wanted to touch just real quickly on the tax revolt day. And I went there and I met some wonderful people that I never would have met otherwise. And I think what a great opportunity for elected officials, and not just the city, the county board, the school board. You know, you're elected by the people to represent them, and what better way or chance to get to talk to some of the citizens is to attend an event like this. And I don't know how many were there any from the school board that came? Were there any from the county board that came? One? I saw a couple of you from the city council there. The tax revolt day, two things. There was one person I met that lived in the River's Edge subdivision, and their property taxes were over 10 grand a year, and they had no children in the school district. And he seemed very confused. He had just gotten his property tax bill, and he said to me, so now I have 30 days to protest this. And I told him, I said, no, that's your bill, now you have to pay it. I said, when you protest is when you get your tax assessment letter in November. And I forget now how many years he lived there, and he said, oh, I've never gotten that. And I said, well, you did, you have. And he says, well, I've tried to go down to the county before about my tax bill, and nobody will help me. He says, you go down there, you walk down there on Fox Street, he says, you go up to the front desk, he says, they're very rude, they won't explain how you file an appeal or where you go or anything. That's personally not been my experience when I go to the tax assessor's office. I find them very helpful. But when they do the tax assessment in November, maybe they have me to put in a second page with detailed instructions of where to go on their website to print out the form and to tell people to look for comparable properties in their area of their home. You know, it's a shame that he didn't feel, you know, so I was trying to explain the process to him because we filed the property tax appeal for the last 2 years in the county. We weren't very successful the first year. We were a little bit successful the second year. We got ours lowered a little bit, not to the level that I would like to have seen it lowered to, and I think that's something that, and I don't know, that maybe not even is a city council issue, you know, with the county board, the tax assessor's office, they really need to work better on getting the word out to the residents of how to appeal the property taxes and the whole process behind that. Because there seems to be a lot of confusion where people just simply don't understand. We moved here in 2005. And as of today, 7 years later, my property taxes have increased to 70.84%. They've almost doubled in 7 years. And in that 7 years, I'm not getting any additional services or benefits than I did 7 years ago. And it's not just the city, so don't feel that I'm picking on you. It's also the county, it's also the school district. But you know, that's what our country is founded on. Taxation without representation, the Boston Tea Party. And the residents are tired. I'm tired of carrying this extra burden of money that I can't afford. 70% in 7 years has been increased. That's a heck of a lot. For you know, and now that our sons graduated from high school, we don't even have a child in the school district anymore. So don't even get me going with the school district on that. We don't even want to be there. But you know, we really need to, and it's not just the city council. It's all across the board. The county, the school district, everybody needs to tighten their belts and knuckle down and concentrate on the day-to-day running and forget all the extras. Because it's killing the residents, and we're getting to the point where we're starting to organize and revolt. And, you know, we're not happy with our taxes. Nobody in this county is. We're the 26th in the country, according to Mark Johnson. And something's got to be done about it. And it's a shame for whatever elected officials that didn't go to that, because it was a perfect opportunity to meet with some of the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Yes, sir.
Tim Johnson, 844 Charlie Ford, Yorkville. I think a lot of you sitting up here know why you got elected last election to be here. And that was your pledge being conservative. I just hope that you hold true to that. It's not for the city to be making a business out of a private business that'll talk about the rec center that'll run even when the city will turn it back over. I'm sure the walkers will keep it going. So people that are using that facility will still continue to use the facility. And for the upcoming election, I hope that a lot of you up here that are going to be up for re-election, keep it in mind. I am in Ward 3, and I was very active to get the other aldermen elected. And I would be very active to make sure another one doesn't. But that's all needs to be said. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Alrighty, hearing none, we'll move on to the regular agenda. We have, I wasn't sure how this was going to work. Being a committee as a whole, I mean, I guess I'll just go through each item. I don't know if the chairman can do it, or I do it. It really doesn't matter to me, but just for the sake of expediency, I'll just run through each one. The first is minutes for approval. Do you have any comments or questions on the April 3rd Economic Development Committee meeting minutes? Yes, sir.
We do them one at a time.
One at a time, and we'll approve them one at a time. I think only the 4 members of that committee can vote on the minutes.
I had one for public works when we get there.
Okay. Any comments or questions on the EDC minutes? Hearing them, all EDC members in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, approved. Public Safety Committee. Comments or questions? All Public Safety Committee members in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public Works Committee.
Just my minor correction, Your Honor. Page 5, last paragraph. Alderman Cott asked, and it should be the word, I believe, as part of our quarterly tracking, is it possible to receive these summaries? There's just one word missing there. Would make sense. Otherwise, that's it.
Anyone else on Public Works? Yes.
Also on Public Works, page 6, if we could just have under old business, second paragraph about the old jail. If we could have it, well, it's Harold Alford, we just made Harold Alford, we put his last name in. And then farther down, under additional business, Heartland Circle is in Cartersville. And if I can have a clarification, we were talking about the trees. The resident that called me said was concerned that the subdivision had covenants, and we took the trees down, and they were concerned they would have to replace the trees. Somehow we could reflect that in the minutes. It wasn't just that their trees were tagged, it's because they thought they were breaking their covenants. Just how we could work that in there.
Any other Public Works Committee meeting minutes?
Hang on more, sorry. Page 7, first paragraph. I asked if there was any way IDOT would be able to donate trees to the city. It says if there's any way the city could donate it with IDOT.
Did you want those to come back next month, Jackie, to see them before we approve them, or you thought to approve them with corrections?
I just have a question with this new concept. I read every single minutes, and I have additional corrections. Are we not allowed to discuss that?
Sure.
If we're not on the committee?
I don't see why not.
Okay.
I think just the committee members can vote on their approval, but if you have comments for the minutes, absolutely.
Okay. Page 1, new business, item number 2.
Which set of minutes?
Oh, storm, right. In the first sentence, Mr. Sanderson said consideration pay request for ongoing work out in Kendall Marketplace for what's going on. That does that make sense to me?
I think it was in the item was. You remember what was the item was for the pay?
The pay request was up for consideration.
So how would you suggest to change it to make sense?
Consideration of a pay request.
Okay. Okay, then we have page 2. The first paragraph, the last sentence. So we will have to revise some of the, I don't think we want to say plans. I think it should be plans. And then the next paragraph, they were mentioning, once I received the title search, I would look them over. Did we receive that proposal?
We'll have to get that. We have not received a proposal yet.
You have not? Okay. Any idea when you would be receiving that?
We're meeting with staff next week, the land acquisition specialist, to review the draft.
Thank you. On page 4, the second paragraph, I think there's some things missing here. Ms. Knoll said it should offset. Circus court should have, correct? Okay, and then where Alderman Teeling was speaking, I think there's some things missing in there as well. I don't know, did you review that, Diane?
I think I was just talking about if we accept it once it's done and then there's problems with it, then we have to fix it. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was just about once we accept it and there's construction traffic going down that road, we have to pay for it because that was we were talking about the, everything being done without the subdivision being complete, right? And so once we accept the road and then trucks start coming in there to build more houses, then we have to fix it if they break it.
So
That-
you're okay.
I just don't know. Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Okay.
I don't think I said it that way, but it's pretty much the gist of what I was saying. That it's hard to accept it, we have to fix it, and it's getting broken when new houses are being built.
Okay, if you're okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Or, I mean, maybe it could change it to building, instead of building it out. Maybe people will wonder what it is. So, yeah.
And then on page 6, the top paragraph, let's see, the third sentence, and that she will be getting it to Alderman Wilson as soon. And I think we need to put as possible in there. And that's all I have on that one.
All right, so we want to approve these with these corrections, or you want to see?
So are you going to change that meaning subdivision on that other page that she was talking about?
Well, we also have a problem, he's going to correct it, because the minute taker did it isn't here.
Is that a new minute taker? I don't recognize.
Yes, it is, the minute taker.
Yeah, I don't recognize
But
your name.
the minute takers that have done these in the past, I mean, how are you going to ever, executive does?
We can figure it out after the meeting. I guess my suggestion would be just to table.
Yeah, table and listen to the tape. I think we would have we'll table these and bring these back next month. Okay? All right, admin committee meeting minutes. Comments or questions on those? Yes, ma'am.
Page 2, second paragraph. First sentence, I think it should say, leave in the debate whether or not we should allow employees to cash out. Instead of should also. And then on page 3, the build program, isn't that all capitals? B-U-I-L-D? Okay, that's in the 6th paragraph. And then on page 4, the first paragraph, I don't think really makes sense. It says Alderman Gilson said the city has infrastructure and so many things that need fixed. And what is the city doing proactively to change this? So the city is no longer coming up short. And on page 5, 3rd paragraph, 3rd sentence, also sees it and approves it. Page 6, 3rd paragraph, first sentence, Alderman is misspelled. And that was it.
Anything else on admin committee meeting minutes? Okay, all those admin committee members in favor of approving these as corrected, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to EDC committee. New business, we have 2 object grant applications. One is for a riverfront park developmental grant, and the other is land acquisition grant. Do you have any comments or questions on these, or do you want some background on it? Okay, Laura, you want to give a quick summary of these 2 grants?
Sure. I'll start off with Riverfront Grant, hopefully you can hear me okay. We have not heard yet from the state whether or not we were awarded our previous year's application. They do have $10 to $11 million to award, but it has not been released yet. So at this time, because applications are due July 1st, we have to determine whether or not we're going to apply for the next year's cycle in case it's denied. So the grant is the same as before. We haven't changed anything. It's just a matter of staff needing the time to be able to finish it because it's the short turnaround time. So I don't know if there are any specific questions regarding the park design. If I need to go over that again, that's up to you. I don't know how long you want me to talk.
That's good enough, I think.
Okay.
And the land acquisition?
Land acquisition grant, OSLAD also has a land, water, and conservation fund grant. There are 2 different ones that give funds from the federal government to the state, and then they can determine how they're allocated. So the acquisition grant, you can get up to $750,000 for land. We have looked at properties, discussed it shortly with Park Board. We'll discuss it again on Thursday, but it's another decision where we have to determine, because we have to pass a resolution to apply for that grant, whether or not we're interested. So I can't discuss the properties further because it is acquisition right now, but we will discuss it later in executive session.
Okay, any comments or questions on these land applications? Jackie?
For the riverfront park, there is one pending out there.
Yes.
So if we apply for this, if that one comes through, do we have a problem refusing this one? We get both. I mean, are the odds are?
No, because they would both be the exact same grant. When I spoke with our grant administrator, she kind of said, oh yeah, everybody who is concerned if they're going to be denied should apply again. So she recommended that we do just in case we are denied.
Yes, sir.
And for the land acquisition, it said in the memo that we can't really negotiate until you apply for and get the grant for the land acquisition. So if we get the grant, and then during the negotiation process, they're not terms that are really favorable to the city, we're not locked into then having to use that money, correct? And we don't get punished or penalized in the future for it.
Right, and part of the difficulty with those grants is that whatever the appraisal value comes in at, that's your negotiated price. So the landowner has to be okay with the appraised value, and the city has to have enough funds from the appraised value. So it's a gamble. You just have to just try it, I guess, and decide whether or not you're going to try and get the land.
Yeah, we got to a point a couple grant cycles ago where we actually got a grant through, got the appraised price, and it was lower than what the property was willing to pay, so we just rescinded the grant application at that point. So we've already had to fall apart once before.
And is it anticipated that the grant would cover about 90% of the cost of the property?
Yes.
Anyone else? Yes.
We're talking about the letter of evaluation. Is that the current value? Because the letter that was attached was dated May 2010.
We would have to get another appraisal, and that costs money, so it would be best if we knew whether or not we were intent on going for the acquisition grant, because otherwise we have to pay, $1,400 for an appraisal, and it's not worth our money if the city council isn't in favor of going for the acquisition. So we would get a new appraisal if required by the state.
And that particular appraisal is for the donated parcel, remember? So we already have some rights to it, so we would only do that if we only run into an issue if you guys said you don't want to apply for it.
Well, my concern is my property appraisal, my property is not worth what it was, even back in 2010. So I'm wondering if, obviously I don't think this would be accurate.
The practical outcome of the lower property appraisal than what we did in 2010 would be that we would acquire more of the donated parcel. So if you remember, we're having 90 acres held for us, and I think we proposed to take over 30 in that particular letter there. So if the appraisal came back at $15,000 and it was previously appraised at $30,000 per acre, we would just take 60 acres instead of 30 and then build on that.
Then there is no penalty associated with this if we can't come up with the money. If we're awarded the grant and we say, no thank you on the whole riverfront part, is there a 2-year penalty like most of them?
There's a 2-year penalty with this one, from what we know, if we don't take the money, but we're not actually spending money. It's $400,000 back from the state. We're matching it with Corland's property. So as far as expending money, we're not going to have any capital outlay.
Do you have confidence in the state to have these funds and to distribute them to different municipalities? We're talking state of Illinois.
Yeah, this is a dedicated source of funding, so they've got a dedicated revenue stream for this program. And I think I've given the same answer for the past couple of years now. It's still true. If the state is going to not pay out on those obligations, they're not going to award grants, which is maybe a reason why they haven't awarded any of the 2011s. So it's possible that this grant cycle, they might just say, thanks for all of your hard work and paperwork, but we're not going to award any grants. That would be the most likely outcome. I don't see them saying, okay, we're going to give you an award, we're going to enter into a contract, and then backing out on that contract after the fact. So especially if it's a dedicated source of funds. So the entire program for last year was $11 million. So in the grand scheme of things for the state, yes, it's $11 million, but it's a small fraction of the budget. So my guess is they would probably look at it from a risk-benefit side point and say, it's better to just pay this out rather than litigate over something we've had a contract over.
Anything else on positive points? All those in favor of moving this on to city council? Signify. You got that? You guys want to vote on this or put it on consent at city council? I'm fine with consent.
I'm fine with consent. I mean, at this point, I think I'm sure that there's no money coming out from the general fund. Everything is approved will be covered by the grants, and there's no outlay on our behalf, so I don't think that's an issue for consent.
Okay. Anyone opposed to the consent agenda? Okay, consent agenda it is. PUD ordinance amendment. Take it away, Christie.
Okay, this ordinance is a culmination of about quite a few months' work with the zoning commission, city attorney, myself, and our former and current city engineer. It's been through a public hearing process with the plan commission. It's also been discussed before park board. So what we're proposing basically is an amendment to a PUD that has three major components. The first one is it reverts the PUD process back to a special use rather than a zoning designation, which makes it more in line with state statutes. Two, it revises the structure of the review process. We would pass around a quick little diagram of how that review process shapes out. We're using an overall 3 to 4 step process with an option to streamline the public meeting process to 2 to 3 steps, as the final stages, which would be the preliminary and final plat, can be considered concurrent. And that will be determined by the Plan Council's technical review. This eliminates the park board review of the residential PUDs from having a separate public meeting, but it affords the park board representation as a voting member on the Plan Commission. And then the plan submittal requirements are more clearly defined and streamlined for each stage of the approval process from concept to preliminary to final. The third and final component is it creates a new requirement in section 10-13-4, which is page 18. It's regarding effective period PUDs. This establishes a deadline for not only the final plat approval, but in the PUD process, but the construction of development granted to the PUD approval. Now remember, PUDs, this is a development privilege, not right, so it's good for us to have expectations of when these developments are going to come online. So what we're proposing is requiring construction begin no later than 3 years from the approval of the final plat. This also provides a mechanism for the City Council to grant extensions to final plat approval and construction extensions. And this theme will be discussed again later on tonight in our bond call policy. It's an agenda item on the meeting. There are other minor tweaks and changes throughout the document, but this is the global review of what we're proposing. If you have any questions or you want to go over anything in detail, I'm here to answer your questions.
I want to explain to the City Council what Christie walked in on 2 years ago. The process that was in place, contrary to my experience or Christie's experience, was that we had a process where a developer came in and would rezone the property PUD. There was no concept. So it would be a plan unit development with no plan unit. Well, it had never been an issue because developments had not came until 2008. So there Christie is left with property that is zoned as PUD, plan unit development, with no plan unit. And it was great when she came to me because I had been trying to explain to her predecessor that this was not the ordinary process. He had established this was very private. It works really, really well when things are all going great. But when things tank and we all had their problem, we were left with it. So Christie has spent a phenomenal amount of time not only correcting that serious flaw, but putting the whole organization and hearing process into one of the best.
The question I had about the park board having a vote in the plan commission, is that a designated member of the park board, or do they caucus majority rules, and that's how the park board votes on the...
It's a designated member, so a designated representative.
And who appoints the designated
It
member?
would be up to the park board to appoint that. And Laura.
At the meeting, they also decided or determined that they would be sending a consensus with that voting member. So they would have a memo that was attached. They would have something with them that they would be able to give to the plan commission to tell them that they're the voice of the entire park board.
But technically, the voting member wouldn't have to follow a consensus. Once you give the authority to the voting member to vote, that voting member can show up and vote, I believe.
Technically, then they have to show up to the board meeting. So
In reviewing this, I think it's great. I think Christie did streamline everything, and I think it should go through smoothly now. And I know I'm reading the park board's minutes, they did have some concern that we're taking their powers and authority away from them. And a lot of groups, if we kind of change the procedure, gets very upset, and I think that they would overcome this.
And I was quite sensitive to their concerns, so I did go to their May 10th meeting. Laura invited me, I was glad that she did. And they welcomed the process and having the ability to have a voting say in the public hearing process. I think it was just a change of the meeting agenda, but once they heard that they would be able to see the plans and they made consensus to send to their representative, they were okay.
I'd say having been on the other side of this, on the development side, going through different communities and Yorkville, this is a welcome change that does correct those problems that are there, and not to benefit the developments and the developers, but to benefit the city. This is a good change that will help us in the future.
Anyone else? Everyone okay with consent? Yep. All right, consent it is. Next, EDC 2012-20, ordinance for sale of public property. Art, do you want to do a little synopsis?
Yeah, this is a resolution for potential RFP bidding process for the old post office. So, as stated in the memo, we had developers express interest in the building, and the only way you can sell it is through either an open RFP or basically using a broker and then never selling it for less than 80% of the fair market value. And so, we thought that the open RFP was probably the best solution. We, get our feelers out there to see if there's any interest to write it into a contract, see what the dollar amount is, and then the worst case scenario is to reject all bids and decide not to sell it. That's what the resolution would accomplish if you.
Yes, sir.
When I first saw the resolution sale of public property, I thought it was the old jail, so I got excited. But then I read on to the second line and realized that it wasn't. Right now, I have a concern with doing anything to sell the old post office for several reasons. A, I think it's an excellent piece of property and it's right on the riverfront. I think we've made great strides in the last couple of years with the downtown area. I think there's good things coming in the future to the downtown area. And that is just prime piece of property right along the river, which I think will only increase in value over time. And even if it doesn't, I think it's a great piece of property for the city to own in the meantime. Secondly, to be quite honest, everybody knows my position in the rec center. And if my side of the aisle was not on that, we might need that building. It's something that we might have to utilize once again in the future. And I don't want that to be an excuse to, well, now we have to keep the rec center because we got rid of the old post office. So I don't think we should do anything with the old post office until we make a long-term determination what we're going to do with our other buildings and services. And for those two reasons, not just the rec center issue, but just the fact that I think it's a great piece of property for now we can sit on it, I would be against even asking for bids because I'm not interested in selling it. However, the old jail, I would be happy to send out for RFPs.
I share your concern about the post office because originally I thought, it'd be nice to get rid of the building we're not using and have viable business down there, spur downtown. But the more I thought about it, you look at our downtown vision plan that was done in 06, 07, whatever it was. I mean, it envisions the city having a lot of open space on the riverfront. You go through areas like Aurora and Naperville, the whole riverfront is wide open, so I think if we put it in private hands, the building would be there for another 50 years. Right now we have parkland between Hydraulic and the river, all to the west of that. Eventually I'm sure those apartments would go, post office can go, eventually you could have all open space down there, which I think is a goal 50 years from now, but when you put this in private hands, then I don't think we'll ever have it.
Well, I support what Carol was saying too. I was really concerned. Number one, it is on the riverfront. And number two was exactly what I was talking about, the rec center, the bid space that we had. So I kind of agree that I think if we consider it, we should just wait.
Any other comments on this one? Chris?
Yeah, as much as I'd like to see additional commercial property down there for development, I'm not sure that this is the right piece for it, just reasons I'm mistaken. This is something that falls into our vision plan, and with us in the current negotiations with the rec center, that is a viable space. So at this point, I don't think I can support the liquidation of the additional property that we could use. And I think we should use for the benefit of the community.
Anyone else? So, I'm assuming that this has no legs, it just dies right here? I mean, is it an accurate statement?
I would concur.
I think it's a matter that we could revisit maybe in 6 months. I think what I'm hearing on the other side here is the rec center, and I agree with that. I don't want to do anything with property we own until we get that issue resolved. But I'm not opposed to looking at this again, in a few months, and once we figure out where we're going with the rec center.
Okay. Sounds good to me. We have no old business for EDC. So we move on to Public Safety Committee. First is Liquor Code Amendment, hours of sale. This is something that I asked to be put on the agenda because I've gotten a lot of feedback from a lot of the bar owners. We heard George gained up some rebounds today. It doesn't make sense that we close at 1 on weekends. And strongly communities are open to vote too. I just thought I'd put it out there and get everyone's thoughts on it.
Well, before I saw this was on the agenda, I was talking to Mr. Mayor. So I did contact some of the local establishments and talked to some of my residents, and I haven't had one single objection to it. I think it would be good for the city. It would match our neighbors to the east and the west, and keep the revenues in the city. Furthermore, I talked to the chief of police, and I don't want to talk for you, but based on my conversation with Rich, I also don't have any concerns from a public safety standpoint. So we want to be business friendly. I think adding 1 hour to the liquor license puts us on par with our surrounding communities, and it would prevent just what the gentleman speaking earlier stated, that people leave Yorkville, who might be from Yorkville, go to other establishments in other cities, spend their money there, and come back to Yorkville. I think it's a win all the way around. So I would be in support of this, and I hope you guys would agree.
Yes, sir.
I support this as well, but what I would like to see, though, if it passes, is our police department monitor that hour that we've added for DUI arrests, disorderly conduct calls, whatever, just to see if there's any increase, any negative effect, and maybe that can be reported back to public safety. And then, a year from now, we can take a look and see if this really had a negative effect on our community or not. But for now, I can support this.
Chief, I'm assuming that won't be a problem to keep those stats?
That's correct. If we do notice an influx in our calls for service to bars and you said UI accidents and that will definitely look for public safety. As of right now, we have very little calls for service in our bars. We have responsible bars and bar owners in town. I have no issues at this point, but I will look for public safety if there's a problem.
Chris?
Yeah. I feel I can support this, and those who I have talked to don't have a problem with it generally. And the one thing I see in here that is nice is also related to the patio licenses. So we remove that restriction, and the noise ordinance is also in place. So we do have it has been thought out in order to minimize those disturbances as we can continue an extra hour in the early morning. So with those kind of things and no negative feedback, I would be in favor of moving forward.
I also spoke with some of the business owners, and I totally agree that we should support them and support this. And I also sent out an e-blast, and I did not receive anything negative from the residents in Ward 4. So I will definitely support both of these.
Okay, anyone else? Sounds like a consent agenda. Next is video gaming ordinance. And this is another one I've got quite a few calls on from some of our establishments in town. The state is all of a sudden on the fast track, it looks like. They sound like they want to have machines out there by August 1st, so, and there's an application process with the state, so a lot of these establishment owners want to know where we stand on it, and if we're going to allow it. So I will open it up for discussion.
I just wanted to clarify, so these would fall under our amusement tax? So there would be, not amusement, but, like a
Mechanical amusement device license.
license, thank
Yes, you'd have to get a $25 license and then.
per
We
per
do-
machine.
Correct. We
And
do
then-
get a portion of the revenue.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to clarify.
Which is in essence 5%.
Yeah.
Just a question, I didn't get a chance to check this website, but do we have a sense of what our neighboring communities are doing with this issue?
I talked to an alderman from Sandwich actually today, some other business, and he said that they were pushing the issue down the road. I think Oswego is set to discuss it off the top of my head, I don't recall. I haven't heard of either Plano or Sugar Grove, whatever we yet discussed it.
Now, the county has approved it, correct?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
I was in a county establishment, and they already had the state people out there, and they were preparing to put machines in already. So I think the county was approved it. Yes.
Once again, this one I had a little harder issue with than the liquor license. The liquor license was a no-brainer, but I've kind of been taking my mind back and forth about the video gaming, and I still don't really know exactly where I stand, to be honest with you. Right now, where I stand today, I think that it's kind of a tie for me, whether I want them or whether I want to be business friendly. It's limited to 5 per establishment, so it's not like we're going to have an establishment filled with these things, which makes me a lot more comfortable. To me, it's a dilemma and a tie in my mind, basically, between whether I want them and whether I want to be business friendly. And I think right now, the tie for me leans towards being business friendly in Yorkville. Once again, it's another thing that we can try. If things get out of hand, if there's a problem with video gaming, we can always change our ordinance and get rid of them. So I'm willing to give people the opportunity to try them for their businesses, to keep, obviously, the doors open in the businesses in Yorkville. But if we have problems and things don't go very well, I'll be the first to maybe bring it up in our committee and yank those out of there.
Yeah, a lot of these places, a lot of these machines are being run on the side anyway all over the state, so might as well legal it and get some revenue out of it. At least give it a try. Like Carla said, we can compete with the state for some of their discretionary gaming money that goes to lottery and other things, so let's try to see what happens. As long as they don't turn into video poker dens, but getting people are free to gamble in a lottery or horse racing, anything else they want. So they want to at least try it.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I'm not a big gambling fan. People are going to do it somewhere. And if they're going to do it somewhere, I'd like to see some of that money come our way. And that's why I was asking if our neighboring town are doing, because once again, trying to keep that playing field level for our local businesses. So I'm going to support this. And like Carol said, if it's not working a year from now, we'll take a look at it.
This is not something like the state where they were looking to expand the gambling operations for additional revenue. This is not us looking for additional revenue. This is something that was brought before us from the businesses wanting this as an opportunity for their businesses to help them. And with that, we do receive benefit from that, but it's not us looking for other ways to incur additional taxes. I do have some mixed feelings on this. I'm not opposed to trying it, but I just want to make it clear that we're not actually looking for additional taxes on us, that this is actually something that was requested, and we'll see how it goes.
About how many establishments should this be affecting? Because it says it's restaurants and...
It'd be all of your A1 licenses, I think is the number, but I believe we're at 7 or 8, if I remember correctly.
Okay, we'll move this consent agenda. the Public Works Committee items, 134 letter of understanding. Ray, you want to give us the rundown?
Probably Laura would be better to speak to this.
Hopefully everyone read my memo. It's a little extensive, but to summarize, in 2010, the city approved having the mayor sign a letter of understanding from Timber Ridge Road to the city limits, saying that at some point the city would install a trail and the state would cost share at 50%. And then in 2012, a letter of understanding was approved for Route 34 from 47 to Timber Ridge Road. And at that time, the letter said that we would cost share 80-20 for a trail and the total cost was $42,000. The state recently spoke with Kendall County and Oswego, and they were all on board to have a trail connect from 47 all the way to Orchard Road, which involves both of those agencies. So what they're asking for is a letter of understanding from us, and they are also asking for one from Kendall County and Oswego, saying that we would cost share the entire length at 80-20. So this takes away our previous letter at 50-50 for part of it, but keeps the 80-20 that's currently existing in place. I don't know, Bart, if you have anything else to add?
Just that this is one of the rare instances that the state will come back to us and ask us for less money. So it does force the timeline, obviously, to be more definitive a little bit earlier, but it's actually reducing our local share for two projects. Whatever that.
Carl?
Well, I mean, at this point, are we obligated to build these projects?
Yeah. We've already signed a letter of understanding to do both. One in 2010, one in 2012. Let me clarify that. We've committed to doing them. Okay, this is similar to the Route 47 project, where if we wanted to back out from them, down the road whenever they decide to expand, they would probably allow us to do so with enough notice, and then obviously paying the engineering bill to take out those components.
Well, the problem I have with this is when we talked about several other trails, and obviously we did the 47, and I think that was, something we couldn't do. I voted for the extension and the connection on 71 because I felt that needed to be done. But, obviously I voted against Kennedy and others to push for the path. I think that's great. Obviously, it seems either way we're going to get Kennedy at this point because we're on the hook for it. I just can't support it anymore. I mean, I just can't support, when you look at our budget, I know that the monies that we have to pay for our portion have not been budgeted, correct? This money has not been budgeted.
Not yet, no.
Right. And when you look at our debt obligations, when you look at our general fund, when you look at future obligations, I just can't agree to put more money on the hook. We got to draw the line somewhere, and at this point, I can't support it.
I don't know if I was completely clear, but there's two segments and we're folding them into one. So we've already committed to both segments. So we've already committed to doing, I think, $110,000 worth of trail work, among other things. And so this is actually going to take that commitment from $110,000 from our part down to about 70-something.
It's like, I think it's 150 down to 87.
Okay.
But this puts us in a dilemma then, because I don't want to take 70, much less 110. That's the problem. Because I mean, how many more? What I'd like to know, maybe for a future meeting, how many more of these letter of understandings from previous years do we have floating out there? Because it seems like every 2 months we get, we got a notice on this previous letter of understanding that we signed on this. I mean, when do they stop? We don't have this budgeted. It has to come out of the budget. Where's the money coming from?
I don't know that there's any out there that we haven't discussed yet. They're doing, we'll call this the East 34 section. So we've got this one, the middle part of 47, which we're all familiar with, that's the expansion. This Eastern 71 section from 47, which we just did a couple months ago. And
the southern 47, that we decided to get off of 47 and use our future for that.
Okay. And the north one is the same thing where it's not in city limits quite yet. So, I mean, the state is moving forward with phase 1 engineering on north of Yorkville to 47 and south. It's just that's probably another 2 years before
But we already agreed to 47, correct?
From Kennedy to 71.
The central section of Yorkville. I'm talking about, like, the south section would be from,
71 to Cape Farm, and the north is from Kennedy Road to Sugar Road.
yeah.
And then the only other segment outside of that is 34 from 47 to 20.
Which, they don't have that in their 6-year plan.
No.
So, which just came out a couple weeks ago.
What section is it, 34 West, you said?
Yeah.
Don't get to 34 point on, why did they put bike trail on there? Anyone?
No sidewalks, I believe.
Good question.
Yes,
How much has been expended so far in engineering? If we vote this down, you said that IDOT may ask us to pay for the engineering that has already been completed. What is the dollar figure?
So there's nothing that we've really spent on this project yet. IDOT is planning the project, so my reference to engineering costs was only, we've said that we're committed to building this one section of trail and streetlights. And then if we go to them 3 years down the road and say we want to take those out, that they're going to send us an engineering bill that will happen. So we're not part of the design other than sending Brad or Laura or Eric to, an IDOT meeting with this. So that's about it.
So we're really not committed to this.
We've already committed to both sections of trails. One from 47 to Timber Creek and one from Timber Creek basically to Orchard Road. So we've previously committed to both of those sections. One of them was at 80-20 funding, which is great. The other one is at 50-50 funding, which is not so great. So they're saying, combine those into one letter of understanding, we're going to take the section that's 50-50 and turn it into an 80-20 funding, which is to our advantage. So they're actually giving up, they're actually reducing our cost for the same project.
So if we vote, the majority votes against submitting a letter of understanding.
Yes.
Hold on,
Yes.
but it will, if you vote against it, then it goes back to 80-20 from 47 to Timber Ridge, so that section will go in, but then beyond that, it'll be 100%. The state said we won't get the 50-50 deal anymore, because they offered 80-20, and if we don't take that, then it'll be 100% from Timber Ridge Road to the edge of town.
So that'll go from $150,000 to $300,000 probably.
Boy, daily, I just like the state more and more.
We're committed to funds here either which way. It's either $76,000 or, I'm sorry, $87,000 if we approve the letter of understanding. $150,000 where they exist right now, but their offer is being removed from the table if we say no. So we are obligated to these funds. And if we choose at some point down the road to back out, we pay engineering fund fees, and that's it. Or that's the correct statement.
Yeah.
So we can back out for the cost of engineering fees down the road, but today, we are committed to $150,000 right now.
Yes.
And this offer is to reduce our fees to $87,000.
Yes.
Where is the money?
The state's money or our money?
The city.
We haven't budgeted for it yet. So the 2012 one we did in the middle of the budget season, and at that time when we approved the letter of understanding, it wasn't even in the city, or not the city's, the state's 6-year transportation plan. So I think that was George's question a couple times, why did we budget for these? Well, we don't put something in a 5-year budget if the state is saying that it's not in their 6-year budget. So now they're saying it's in the 6-year budget, so next year we go into the budget, we'll put it in there. Larry?
Yes, I supported this last time we voted on this, knowing we could back out at a later date. So this almost seems like a no-brainer to me if it's going to save us money, and that's a rarity where the state approaches us letting us save some money on a project, so I'm going to support this.
Yeah, as it is right now, I can't not support this because this is a savings to us. And if down the road we have to back out, if we back out of it down the road. But as it stands right now, I have to support it since it can save us even though we're still expending funds. If we don't have them down the road, we say no to it, we pay the engineering fees. But just backing out, it commits us to more funds, and I can't do that.
Any other comments, questions? We move this on to City Council, non-consent. I'm sure there'll be some more lively discussion at City Council. Okay. Countryside Center Road Maintenance and Snow Plowing.
This is requested by Alderman Gilson. I think the specific request was what the status of the ring road around former Countryside Center, and what we were planning on doing with snow plowing and road maintenance. Since we don't own the road, I guess our proposal would be to do nothing except work with the developer. We did have an update actually from the property owner today. They did propose to close the roads. They want to put up barricades in each area. Being sensitive though to Northwest Pool and Spa's access off the West Stub from Countryside Parkway. And they know that they need to obviously fill the potholes of the road need to remain open or they'll get a citation from us. That was their most recent correspondence.
Barb and I talking about the closing of the roads and stuff like that. They're terrible, and they're not our roads. We're not going to fix them. Doesn't look like in the near future they're going to be able to fix them. Well, if it comes down to consideration too, is there a system that the school admin building, across from Pizza Hut, uses for their parking lot. Also, there's some dental offices there. You know, they can come in through Castle, but a lot of people go out that way, or they have parking in the back.
Yeah.
So there was a stop sign. I don't think it's there anymore. Maybe they can block it there.
Sure.
For access for that.
One question, has the fire department weighed in on closing those roads in terms of the buildings that are on the west side there?
No.
Is it something that they may consider having comments on those, as that is a secondary access around the back sides of the building?
They should be able to get through Castle Bank to the back.
To still get back around there, so they have.
Or Wheeling Title, in between Wheeling Title and Castle Bank, there's the all kind of access.
Once they have access
Yeah.
around the buildings, because those are some larger buildings, I don't have a problem.
Should be.
The only reason we haven't talked to them yet is because I think I got the email from the property owner.
I just wanted to make sure, I agree these roads need to be closed, but somebody from the city obviously is going to be there to make sure that all active businesses still have egress to their businesses, correct?
Yeah, and that kind of gets into potential egress issues of easements and agreements between two private landowners. So obviously we would encourage the existing property owner to keep access open, but it might be something where we have to encourage them to settle it civilly.
Does this have to go to City Council, or is this informational, or?
It was an informational item as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Next on Public Works Committee, Resolution 2012 Street Maintenance MFT Program.
Yes, in accordance with the budget that was approved, we have $50,000 to expend for the annual MFT maintenance program. And in speaking to Public Works, we discussed a number of areas, but concluded that some sections along Kennedy Road might be the best areas to spend that money for this fiscal year. So therefore, we have a resolution for consideration to move forward with the preparing the package, going out to bid, and completing the work yet this construction season.
The question I have is, as far as this election of Kennedy Road, I know in a couple of years, obviously, Kennedy Road is going to be ripped up and they're going to redo Kennedy Road. I mean, wouldn't the money be better spent on roads that we know aren't even going to be touched in the next decade? I mean, we have roads in this city that are in such condition.
Kennedy Road is type building permits in Grand Reserve.
This what?
Kennedy Road is type building permits in Grand Reserve in that area.
Okay.
So there's no saying it'll be a couple of years when Kennedy Road gets redone.
Are they redoing Kennedy Road?
You're thinking.
When they.
There's an Autumn Creek section that goes to Bristol Ridge Road. that make it up before this. This is from Bristol Ridge Road to the east, up towards Mill Road and Green.
Okay. The Autumn Creek one is contemplated.
It's contemplated to be done before.
2 years, 3 years?
So is this section going to be redone?
This is all based, I believe, on permits as they come in from the Grand Reserve Development. Bristol Ridge Road was the first one done, then I believe Kennedy and then Mill Road.
I don't remember what the number is off the top. 500 in certain sections?
500 in certain sections, within 2 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the likelihood of us hitting 500 permits in any specific section in Grand Reserve in the next 5 years is probably minimal.
Well, I know, but what about the older part of town? I mean, that's my concern. We have these roads that there's no permits coming in, there's no developer coming, there's no Calvary down the road that's going to save those roads. What about patching those? I mean, those roads are atrocious. Just ask the Petersons. They let them block from my house. And if you got a small compact car, you might not have it back if you're driving down this road.
The recommendation, sure. The recommendation between Eric and Brad, and I think you were as input, was based on traffic volume, condition of the roadway, and then the speed limit of the roadway. So based on those three factors, they looked at it and said, in this case, we probably need to do worse first because we only got a budget. So for the residents of the other part of the town, I would say we just finished up our road survey. It'll be presented to the city council by the end of the calendar year. And non-home rule sales taxes are actually trending high. Third month in a row, which we'll get to a little bit further down the agenda. So I'm hoping that in this fiscal year that we're currently in, we're going to have more money than we thought, which then we'll be able to tackle some of those issues.
We also picked one concentrated area. Without a local contractor, as everybody knows, ABT has done this project for the past however many years we've done it. We do not feel we will get favorable bids if we have someone else jump all over the time from place to place to place to do patches. If we keep them in one area and keep them on one road, I think we'll get a much more favorable price.
You know, 50,000 doesn't get as much paid for roads, for example. Is that how Big Kennedy's going to end up? Is that what you're looking at? I mean,
We're looking at actually getting it before it's in the shape game partners. So hopefully it will not be in the shape that game partners now currently in some spots, and hopefully we can maintain it for a longer period of time. We're looking at starting east and going around that curve there by where the golf course is, where it's actually wearing out to the where there's nothing left but gravel. And at 35 and 45 miles an hour, we need to have that.
Anyone else? Price moves on to city council for a vote. Consent okay, or no discussion again, city council? Consent is fine with me. Parkway tree installation under proposal.
You wrote it.
The 36 trees that were allocated by City Council for our Parkway Tree Program sold as of May 10th. We've had many calls about people who are interested in still planting Parkway trees. So we actually got bids from 3 different companies for their costs to plant Parkway trees. We would still purchase it. We would act as a general contractor. The best price that came in was from Yorkville at $77.80 a tree. So part of this program would be that the purchase price that we get at wholesale, which is anywhere from $140 to $157, plus that cost for planting, would be offered to the homeowners who really want a tree this year. If not, our 50/50 program would be open again next spring, but this is an alternative means. It'd be around $225 a tree if they wanted to participate in this type of program.
on our 50/50, what does it cost a homeowner now?
The cost of the tree. The cheapest tree we have is a red maple, and that's $108. The most expensive is a oak, and that's $197.
How do we figure labor in for those?
That's our 50%.
That's your, so they buy the tree. I guess, and we talked about this, that I just got a lot of calls, especially from Heartland Circle. They're losing their trees. And I wish there was a way we could somehow investigate what other sources are out there for trees for people. I know Eric can talk that sometimes we don't. different sources, but
I've recommended to some people who call me from different communities that they ask their HOA to contact one contractor to get a price for planting and you know, the tree and installation, because they're still going to get them at wholesale prices. If they're concentrating in one area, they may get a little bit of a better price. But when I talked to the nursery that I talked to and told them that this is what we were looking at doing, and we were hoping it's, you know, 225 a tree to plant, they thought that that was an unbelievable price. So I think that for HOAs to find a contractor, it might be difficult, but I always encourage them to do that, because if they're doing it in bulk, they may get a better price.
my biggest, the people that have contacted me from Parkland, their biggest thing is they were under-assessed, they just got their taxes, and they just got a big hit. And everyone I've talked to, that's a big thing, and now their tree's gone. And technically, you know, the people who contact me, it's our tree, it's the city's tree, it's the city's parkway. So for this, so, you know, there's some animosity out there about replacing the trees for the cost. So that's just my concern. I wish there was a different way we could, and I don't know if there's anything we could tap into where we could get more economical trees for residents.
We do still have a grant application outstanding from the Morton Arboretum for $10,000. $10,000,
which is about
yeah. So if we get that, we'll have additional resources, obviously.
What do you think the window is on that grant? Do they have any?
When did we apply for it? A year ago?
January.
Not long ago. I want to say that they had awarded them within a few months, some of the previous ones, so hopefully in the next month we'll have it.
For the sake of this proposal, when would the trees be available to the residents? Immediately?
It would be fall again. They could plant now, but there's no warranty because we're purchasing the trees at wholesale, and that's the concern. If they plant them now, they're going to have to water them every couple days.
We're going to wait till fall for this program if we do it just like we did in the spring for the
Right.
previous section of the previous batch. How much demand has the city received for additional trees from the program?
Numerous calls, why can't we get more trees?
Do we have any type of number to what that is?
We just don't know.
Obviously, we built 36 fast.
36 went May 10th. This is the first year we sold out. So, you know, a lot of people may say they wanted a tree, but when it comes down to signing up for it, you know.
Yeah, this is a good deal more for the cheapest tree to the basic tree that we're talking about here. If we were able to come in with a $10,000 grant, we could apply that to trees and reduce the cost and try to get it more in line. It is a little pricey, but it is a viable way to get more trees planted, since there is a lot of concern about the many trees that we are losing community and applying for. I'm not too sure how I feel about this yet, but something to consider.
I guess I'm just a little bit confused as to, it's broken down to the price per tree and obviously the price for the delivery and installation. So what's the city's portion of that liability if we approve this? What does if I have an elm installed in my house at $140, what do I pay? Does the city cover any of it, or what's it?
This plan is an alternative plan. Our 36 trees are already gone, so
Right.
this is one that the homeowner would take the full cost of the tree. It is still a reduced cost compared to what we believe a lot of contractors will do. We've talked to a few. There's only one other one that we talked with that might do it for $250, but it's still a good price because we're getting the trees wholesale.
I agree that the prices are,
right.
To have a tree installed at a good price.
And that's honestly what we're trying to offer is if we act as a general contractor, that we can give the residents a tree at a reduced cost to give them another opportunity. They're welcome to contact contractors on their own. They're welcome to have their HOA call company. We're just trying to help out to get a better price, and as the wholesale purchaser, that's how we can help.
Really, we're asking you for you to sort of endorse one specific company. Say we went to bid for this project, and here was the lowest company. We encourage you to call them, when you're contacting us. So that's really all.
Okay, that's where I was.
Yeah.
What do you really need from us? It doesn't cost us a penny.
Correct. Normally, we wouldn't suggest specific companies to do work for residents. We might say, here's the list of the 10 last building permits and tree contracts we've done. You can call them yourself, but normally we don't say, here's the price
say, yes, we need to move forward with this program, because we'll be taking people's checks and buying trees again.
Everyone good?
I have one question.
Yes.
The Parkway Tree Program now, we install the trees, right? We have the trees, the resident paid for the trees. So is this only the price, is if they, the nursery does the installation too?
Yes.
The price quoted is the tree installation.
Okay, so if they did if we don't want to take that on to do the installation too?
We can.
Another question, how big of trees are we talking? Like
So,
size?
2.5 inch.
So what are we talking about?
The bulb.
So, say a resident wanted to do, they wanted to have some cost savings, and they wanted to put it in themselves, is that a possibility? Do we want them doing that?
I think this price included the installation, and I think they would, the vendor would want to keep it that way.
I was looking at the cost savings.
To touch on your point, on my block, actually, I helped install 5 trees. We did them ourselves on the block at discounted costs and purchasing them. So, purchase the trees and install them yourself. It's doable. We actually removed the stumps too, since we did not want to wait for the relocation of the city. It is a lot of work, but it is doable, so you can do that as an option.
And many people have chosen it.
Yeah.
I just thought if maybe people wanted to put them in themselves, we could offer them the benefit of getting a nice tree for less than they could go at a nursery because we're buying the bulk. That fit,
That's what the program.
but if they wanted to save some more money and plant it themselves, is it doable?
Yes, it's just often they can't necessarily buy the tree wholesale, so that's the problem, because if they went to a nursery, it may be $250 for the tree instead.
Say I come in and I say, I want an elm tree for 140, but what's our goal? Say, you can have Yorkville, but I want to save the 70, 780 for them to plant it. I can do that? Can a resident do that? Or do you have to get?
I would bet the bid price would be higher.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a package deal.
Okay.
That's what they're saying. They're saying if you buy it from us at this rate and install it, this is going to be the price.
Now, there is another program in there, the Community one that was attached. That was from Springbrook Grove Nursery. They do this. It doesn't cost us anything if we wanted to have that as another option. The trees are considerably more expensive for the purchase and installation, but it is another way that people could get their trees established, planted. So
Are they bigger trees?
they're still 2.5 inch. They do have some 3 inch for sale. You just have to pay a little more for it, so they could get a little bit bigger.
Do we have any prices on it? I understand.
No, I did not provide prices. They're all online because you have to go through and actually pick the species and the size, and then if you want it delivered and planted, and you have all those options, so it's something that you can look at.
Many other vendors are actually starting. We actually receive flyers in the mail that now say Emerald Ash Boy Special. So you'll be seeing those all over nurseries. Last year we had huge specials.
So you're going to prepare materials and put this on our webpage as an alternative?
Yes.
Sounds like everyone's good with it. Okay, next is old business, letter of credit bond call policy.
Okay. This discussion item was born out of several meetings of Public Works Committee, internal discussions with the city attorney and the city engineer. And just to give you a little bit of background, there are approximately 150 bonds or letters of credit for various developments and various phases of completion that the city has. The city subdivision control ordinance is the document that establishes regulations for how these security instruments are administered. In addition to that, we have our standard specifications for improvements, which controls the construction of these developments. What we realized is there are major discrepancies between these two regulated documents. So staff has come up with recommendations and discussions that we're proposing to implement new policies and procedures for bonds. So I'll categorize them as the four that are highlighted in the memo. Revised subdivision control ordinance to require the completion of subdivisions within 4 years from final plat. Revised subdivision control ordinance to require acknowledgement of a public improvement completion schedule, the quarterly tracking of letters of credits and bonds regarding the expiration dates, and then revised subdivision control ordinance regarding the contingency requirement for the reduction of bond procedures. Specifically, staff is asking the committee of the whole to give direction on 4 items related to those 4 categories. The first one is, should we have the maximum completion time of subdivision improvements at 3 years or 4 years? Should we have a fee requirement for extension requests? Should there be a deadline for final road surface course installation? And should we trigger the initial contact by staff from either just the time frame the developments are moving along, or should it be a time frame and a percentage of build out of either the public improvements or the units? This is just the heart of tonight's discussion. It's very broad. If you want me to go into more specifics, I can, but it's pretty much outlined in the memo. If you have any questions, you can just feel free to shoot them at me and I'll try to respond to them.
So, you want feedback on those 4 specific
Those
questions?
4 specific questions.
Okay.
Maybe we could recap the staff suggestions for each one.
Sure. So the first one is, staff proposed that since there's an inconsistency between the standard specification for improvements for requirements for accepting road construction and the subdivision control ordinance, we're proposing a 4-year from the date of approval of final plat for completion of all developments. There was discussion in Public Works. Some members thought 3 years was acceptable. Staff is proposing 4 years. So which would you rather have, 3 or 4 years?
Jackie?
In Public Works, I think you had a very good explanation for the 4 years. So I don't know if you can share that.
Sure. From the development side, right now, some people were saying 2 years. Your first year, a developer looks at their performance, and they usually don't want to carry the property very long. So they have to short holding costs. So the first year really is when they're going to be prepping the site. The second year is when they're going to start the first phase of waiver development, selling those. The third year is when they'll probably do the rest of the development, and they really want to be out by 3 years, but 4 years right now is going to be typical because you're going to have a hard time getting out and finishing the infrastructure. So that's why staff is going with 4 years. 3 years may be a little tight in this economy. 2 years is definitely not reasonable. So that's why we were going with 4 years.
I think the majority of committee supported the 4 years on that explanation.
So you're 3 or 4? Chris? 4 years. Gentlemen? Thank you. 4 it is.
The second item, we're proposing to have an extension requirement if they're going beyond those 4 years. The developer has to come and give good explanation to the city council why they need extra time, and we're going to charge a fee. That's another benefit that the city can have. We want it to be a deterrent in a way so they don't ask for extra time, but we want it to cover our costs. So we're proposing $500 for application fee. Is that reasonable, or should it be more?
Does that cover our costs?
It would cover our internal costs. I looked at other communities, and not just in Illinois, not just in our area, all over the state. They range from $150 to $300. I mean, we could go 1,000, but I think that would be a little bit unreasonable, and 500 would be reasonable.
What do you think, Jamie? Chris?
Has there been any consideration given to a sliding scale based on size of the community, the development?
That could be done as well. There are communities within Illinois that have this provision, but they don't charge an application fee. So a developer would just show up and just request an extension, and it's done. Some are done administratively.
And your reason for it is a potential deterrent and to cover administration costs.
Correct.
I agree that we need to have something in place to, discourage it, but we also I don't think that we want to discourage, make it so high that people are going to be reading our ordinances and going, oh, if something happens and I can get this done, this
like to see it tied in with actual cost. I think if we try to, like Ian said here, if we go too high with it, we're not trying to punish somebody. I mean, let's go ahead and let's go trying to work together here. I think it should be tied with something close to what's actually going to cost us. And if 500 is that number, then I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, I would love it for it to be a deterrent. Just for them to say, well, we have to be done in 4 years, otherwise we're going to... It's a developer developing a subdivision. We're talking about a $500 fee. That's not a deterrent for a developer to pay $500. So, I agree with Larry. What does it cost us to review the application, process it, and do our job? If you want a deterrent, then you got to make it a $50,000 fee, which, I mean, that's a deterrent. Let's get things done in time, or I got to pay a $50,000 fee. $500 is not a deterrent, so I agree with Larry. What does it cost us to process it, review it, give a recommendation to council, and that's what the fee should be.
The staff time would really be my time, which I don't bill hourly, we don't bill hourly, so it wouldn't be any publication issue. So it would be basically my time and Kathy maybe reviewing a few things, but it's just a simple request. I just need an extension. This is the reason why. This is what I have done so far. I don't even really think engineering at that point could come into play, but then that's another department.
You're not billed out ordinarily, but fortunately, to pick up.
Right.
But in that case, even if it took an hour of an attorney's time and Chrissy's time, 500, then would be reasonable.
As long as you don't label it a deterrent, I'm good with it. It's not a deterrent, but yeah, 500, I guess.
Rose, you okay with 500?
Yeah, I think Christy, once again, has done enough research on this. And then if we bump some Kathy speaks in there, it probably should be higher, but no.
Thank you. I know I'm worth so much more.
I'm okay with 500.
Everyone's okay? All right, 500 it is. Now, calendar years or construction date? 3 years.
4 years.
No, this is for the roads, for the surface course, final surface course. Right now, we have a discrepancy between the two documents. Eric made a good suggestion that it should be construction years because if it's 3 calendar years, it may not fall at the right time. And this is from the initial date, not of final plat approval, but the initial date of construction.
I'm sorry.
Would you acknowledge?
You.
The construction years make sense. We run into problems where communities can't put in their sidewalks due to the season. This makes sense to get things done within the season that is appropriate for it, so I don't have any problem with using a construction year calendar.
Is this tied into the percentage of completion of the subdivision? Because I don't want to run into where we mandate that they finish the roads, and then they keep building a few years, or a year later, and now the roads get...
We're getting out of that time to 70% of completion. That's the next time.
So how does this work? I mean, if we say it has to be done in the third construction year, are we in essence saying you got to put the roads down in the third construction year? And if you're only 20% done, then 80% of the homes are going to be constructed on this new road?
Yes, and it helps the city out a little bit more because at some point we're going to be accepting these roads, and if they sit for very long periods of time without having that final back and forth, when eventually we accept it or we have to enforce it, what we're seeing now, we'd rather have it in the best condition possible than to have it in crushed.
So just so I understand how the process works, let's say in the third construction year, they got to put down the road. They put down the road, but they still build for another year or so, or maybe even 2. The roads start getting a little dinged up and beat up. At that point, when we go to accept the roads, can we ask them to fix the roads? So we're stuck with the broken road.
The way this process is set up is that you're actually accepting it after the Hendricks construction final course is put on. So that was the conversation we had at Public Works, and it was a unanimous decision to say, we'd rather have the roads completed in a good condition and accept them earlier than we have been than to push off and hope the developer will complete the subdivision 10 years down the road. So that is the main policy question here, is that you're accelerating the acceptance and maintenance of our roads, thereby increasing the cost potentially long term. So it'll make the residents happier, obviously, because the roads will extra sooner, but it does come at a cost.
And it's not without warrant. We have tempered this and balanced it with the fact that we have now a procedure that we're going to follow called the bonds. We're not waiting for bonds to expire, to no longer be attainable, or their value has decreased so much with the work that needs to be done. We're going to.
So the third construction season, roads aren't built, we call the bonds.
That's right. We are going to be on. We have a policy. That's the next item that we're going to be talking about.
Kathy's nodding at me, and says I always listen to Kathy Gilmore.
But I just want to make sure that this point. The perfect example of this in Yorkville is the Cornerstone subdivision. Okay, they've been building now for 7 years, if I remember correctly. They have 6 homes out of 41 builds. Okay, and in this process, the final course would have been completed 4 years ago, and we would have accepted it. We'd be maintaining it already, even though there are potentially 35 or more homes to be built. So they haven't pulled a building permit there in 2 or 3 years. So the likelihood that they are all of a sudden going to build 35 homes is minimal. But the possibility does exist if the economy gets back. So,
And then we have enough fees coming into. Well, if it gets there, right. So if the burden on the road is there, that means that the houses are being built. So you kind of something if you do, something if you don't.
It's double-edged.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'll obviously go with your recommendation, Christy. If you think this is best, I'll support it.
And it's consistent with the house, just jump with another policy.
For staff and engineer, accepting the roads earlier, that would be far better for us financially as compared to the Cornerstone, accepting them down the road once they've been exposed for numerous years. That base course will need repair. If we have to finish those roads, it'll need repair, or it could compromise the actual stability of that road, correct?
it all depends on the subdivision and the developer. Because theoretically, under our current policies, the Cornerstone developer is still on the hook for that roadway. So if we get somebody that comes to us and they really want to move on 35 houses since they've got contracts, we have the right under our existing ordinance to say, you didn't put surface course on for 7 years, the binder course has failed, rip out the road completely, redo it, and you would have the authority to do that. So the issue is we haven't done that pretty much for any subdivision.
Comfort Hills is the only one.
Okay.
And we still have that ability with this ordinance because there is a clause that says if any infrastructure is not up to our standards, we don't have to accept it and we can make them deal with it.
So we're not losing any of our abilities to enforce our quality standards.
No, not at all. We're actually enforcing what we have, so we weren't.
And another thing is too, is as far as the road is totally finished, and independent home builder comes in and he were to choose to unload his equipment, his excavator or whatnot, right on top of the road, he'd be, responsible for exceeding the weight limit of the road surface. Most builders will pull their trailer off onto the actual lot, remove the equipment, do the work, and then pull it back on and load it in that area because they want to avoid fines from the city for damaging the roadway. And once we've fully accepted it, we can enforce, city policies about the roadways. So they'd be liable to repair it if they damage it at that point.
Damage isn't necessarily what we're worried about, though. We're talking about 45 dump trucks, contractors' trucks, semi-trucks are lumber. Yes, it's repeated wear and tear over years. So that's the concern.
Okay, so we're good with the reconstruction years, sounds like. All right. Question number 4.
The final one. So right now, what we're doing is, there was a proposal initially by staff to tie at each stage of development 2 years with contact of the developer, see where they are on the stage, 3 years with contact, and then send them a letter of possible intent, 4 years with contact and have them come in. We tied that initially to a percentage of build out. With discussion with the city engineer, it was just too cumbersome to track. So it's better to just tie it to the years of construction of those 4 years that they're allotted, and that's what we're asking. Do you want to make it simple? At 2 years we do this, 3 years we do that, 4 years we do this, or should we do 2 years and 50% built out, 3 years and 60% built out? Should we make it a little bit more of a tie to percentage of either construction of the infrastructure or percentage of construction of units built? We're proposing real simple.
good.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the future, we have to be more realistic as far as development growth in the city versus what happened in the past, where when a developer comes in and they propose a development, if we approve it, it's because we feel that this development will not just be able to be built, but will be able to build so within the time frame that they're proposing. If they come in and propose a 500-home development and we approve it, they say they're going to be done in 3 years, well, shame on us. Because do we really think we're going to sell 500 homes? If it's a smaller development with 27 homes, that's more palatable. So, you know, even though some of the burden is on, some of the blame is on the developer, some of the blame is on the council too. We have to be a little more judicious as to what we approve. So I think following the simple, more segmented idea works when we don't have to deal so much with percentages, as long as this council is conscious of what we're approving in the future.
And with their application, they do have to provide us with a construction schedule, and if they don't meet the milestones of construction at certain times, we ask them to update that. And it's actually an agreement that they're agreeing that they're going to follow this construction timeframe.
This will not affect any existing developments, correct?
Correct. It will.
So it's only new construction, or developments that are existing will follow the existing procedure that are in
Correct.
place
Or whatever the annexation.
for their annexation.
There are only 3 subdivisions currently that have lock-in ordinances that are still in effect, so actually that apply to most of them.
The majority, okay.
Yeah.
I do recall that list that came out.
Autumn Creek, Bristol Bay, Blackberry Woods are the only ones that I know of that have an existing fee lot.
Oh, there's Hartman. Hartman Circle, yeah,
In
there's
perpetuity?
2027.
Okay.
So they have
Right.
until those expire, these new regulations come up.
The question I have is, it kind of goes on Counselor, is you said that we do have subdivisions that they're not, their annexation agreements are almost up, so this would apply to them.
There are some.
Right.
So some of these subdivisions that are in this situation are owned by banks. The banks have to follow this once they...
Well, whoever the new successor owner is a developer, they...
So if the bank doesn't sell it, and they're hanging on to it, they're going to have to
We're
follow
going to,
this.
if they have bonds or letters of credit in place, we will be contacting them. Anybody say coming out?
You're going to make them follow the ordinance.
Okay, everyone's good with staff recommendation on that? Now this is to move on to city council for formal adoption of formal consent. Okay with everyone? Alrighty then. Next, we move on to admin, new business procedural ordinance.
Did you want me to discuss this?
That would be fine. I think you brought this forward as for changes.
Okay, this actually, Alderman Munns recommended that we do this because we were having people reading emails and not disclosing who sent the email in. And we thought that we put it on our agenda for administration, and we're trying to maybe give the person the option of just giving their names, or just don't read the emails. Basically.
Is this for a committee?
No, we have a committee thing.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. We'll get to the next one.
Next one, Jen, right?
Yeah, that was actually not even on the agenda.
Yeah.
I was giving you a preview, so you're all ready for it. This one is, let's see.
Strong committees.
Yeah, we were talking about having strong committees, and no longer, we're going to take away the authority of 4 aldermen to place anything on the city council agenda, and just direct that all items, except for the mayor's items, to be placed on the agenda with only the approval of the entire committee. And I believe that that was because several times things were put on the agenda that basically died in committee. And four aldermen got together and said, well, you know what, let's discuss it anyhow. So we're trying to make a stronger committee.
Yes, sir.
Just need some clarification from our legal staff. Number one, this proposal appears to violate state law. Is that correct?
I think there's a strong argument that, of course, there's no case law to that effect, there's no determination. But by reducing it to 3, you're giving the power of veto to less than a majority of the aldermen. And so I think you might be minimizing the power that is granted to you by state statute to participate in any vote or subject matter that is supposed to come before the council. So I do have a conceptual problem with that. But again, I can't say anything other than your right to vote on any issues of the city council.
And my second follow-up to that is, if I'm understanding our 4-member committee process, if 2 aldermen in that committee are opposed to an issue, legislative items, it doesn't go anywhere, because a 2-2 tie does not move it out of committee. I am so strongly opposed to this measure because you could have 2 members of a committee who oppose something, where 6 other aldermen support it, and short of the mayor putting it on city council agenda, it's never going to see the light of day. And to me, that's just totally obstructs the legislative process. I'm totally against this and would not support it at all.
Yeah, the concept was not so much to take away from that, but to where we would have the committees for. If we stay with how, it'd be a moot point. But we have these committees, we sit there and discuss, and it doesn't get committee approval, and then when Kathy was saying less majority, we just throw it on the agenda anyway. So why even talk about a committee?
Then why change it if that's the case? If you can already by state law have 3 aldermen.
No, well, is it by state law? Because
State law says, we're talking 2 laws. There are 2 laws which I think this may violate. Law number 1 is that any 3 aldermen can call a special meeting. That's state law. So if you have the right to call a special meeting and you demand that the council members come, they don't come, then you're not even giving 3 in the situation that Alderman Cox pointed out. They're not even giving the 3 aldermen the right by our own procedure that they would have under state law.
A lot of other cities do it, they follow.
Quite frankly, and I've been with a lot of other cities for over 35 years, and how they do it, more do committee of the whole as we're doing now than do strict committee form. And the way you've been moving this agenda tonight is to be complimented because you're moving things to consent agenda. That is the majority way of most, and I can tell you the towns I'm working with right now. Committees are used primarily to foster, to carry things forward, not to kill them.
Right. It's more about a recommending issue. A lot of the communities that will do, committees will have the individual committees actually be staffed by maybe 2 aldermen out of 8 and 4 citizens. And then say, we want you to spend a lot of time researching this issue, make recommendations to the entire city council.
Or 2 aldermen with the community development department, or 2 aldermen with planning department, or 2 aldermen with finance department, so that they, wrap it up. The problem with the strong committee as suggested is you can run into a situation of alderman Todd very, very easily. You have 1 person absent, you get it.
Well, the other problem that we're doing it that way is discussing the committee for hours and hours, and you come to city council, and people who aren't there are going to discuss it all over again.
I couldn't agree with you more, and that's why.
Expedient in the city council, then it's fine, but it's one of some ways so we don't discuss the same thing over and over and over again. Nobody says anything different.
I agree that can be an issue, but I'd rather discuss something too much than not enough. So I just have a real problem with this. Where 2 out of 8 people on city council can block legislation. And if anything, this makes the mayor even stronger.
Right.
Because
Right.
it leaves it to the mayor to put something on a city council agenda. I see no reason whatsoever to do this.
And the only way that in practice is you can avoid the double discussion all the time. is committee.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can't support this, and as you said, it does give the mayor more power, not that I want to take that away from you. But it would require lobbying the mayor to get something on if it was not brought through a committee. And it's one we do. It's unsure foundation in terms of where we're at in terms of the legal ramifications of it, and I don't know if I want to challenge that.
This is the procedure used by the General Assembly, by the way. Committee. Things die in committee in the General Assembly. There they have a rational basis because they say that they're representing so many different constituencies that nothing would ever get done if every issue was brought before the General Assembly. But this is exactly what they use to prevent issues coming to the floor.
And we don't want to do it, that's how they do it. See, right now, you could put an agenda item on a committee, right? So anybody can get one on, but if we don't have the committees in Cal, then how we put it in Cal? Anybody could do that with the committees?
The way it's drafted is that anybody can put anything on a cow agenda. So they direct which section of the agenda goes on, and then, the entire city council discusses.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a perfect example of why, things are discussed and things are vetted and different ideas are thrown around. Because initially, I did support this ordinance. I really do. I think that a powerful committee could get rid of some of the duplicate things that Marty and I talked about and the reason why it was proposed. But Larry brings up an excellent point. The two individuals with the body of 8, in essence, kill something, which I agree is not equitable. I still prefer committees to a cow. I'll tell you that right up front. Everybody knows that. But I think that the committee system that we have probably should remain if we return to committees versus increasing it. But I think Alderman Cobb made an excellent point that I didn't think about before. So.
And most of this kind of move because I'd be pretty liberal about putting anything on mayor before.
You're right. I mean, obviously.
Pretty much any alderman has to put something on. Odds are 99 times out of 100 I do it.
Mark that in the record, Richard.
98 times.
6.5.
Yes.
And with you saying that, I do believe that, but the next mayor may not want to do that. And that's the main reason that I was interested in seeing how the committee as a whole worked out, because I felt like some of the things were, I didn't know, if you don't go to all meetings, if you can't make it to all the meetings, you don't know what was actually, you miss something that you may have been in favor of that you may have wanted to discuss and talk about. So that's why I was interested in seeing how this format was going to work out. Let's just see. That's why I was in favor of it for now, just to see how it works.
Yes.
Well, I don't support this either. If something's deadlocked, that's for people, and I guess I'm aware there's 8 of us. So it's kind of nice to bring it, if it's the 2 people who are for it and the other 2 are against it, and it turns out everybody's against it, well, then it's not going farther. But it's nice to know what other people's opinions are on things. Also, something that, just to throw out there, some of our committees, we're not equally divided. The city doesn't have representation because Larry and I are on one committee, so that leaves some other ward out. So
There's 3 committees like that.
There's 3 committees like that. So somebody's ward is always left out. So when you deadlock, maybe someone that appeals to somebody else in some other ward. So I don't support it. I like that we have that option. If it gets to be that way, we can bring it forward. It doesn't happen that often, but it's nice to do it.
Joey, kill us a committee? Next is countryside development discussion. Somebody wants to discuss this?
Yeah, there's a memo in your packet giving you the update on the most recent developer contacts, and then there's order financing schedule in there. If anybody has any questions, obviously I can answer them. We did recommend not to refinance, especially when we have a developer in front of us. Because if you refinance, you lose your existing TIF fund.
Lynn, is there anything you can share with us?
Yes, I am working with a commercial developer, and they are working with an end user and to bring in a medium-sized entity to the site. So I will, as things progress, we will keep you informed.
Thank you for being so specific.
Yes. So, and right now we're looking at our ordinances and their plans and how everything would work in conjunction. And have also been in touch with the broker from the Bank of America is now hired to market the property. So things are moving along, so that's a good thing.
Yes.
Just real quick, as this gets closer to the line, we can look at it that way.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 months ago in the committee, I was completely against refinancing. At this point, our D-Day, to say, at least on the TIF fund, is still years out. We don't want to get to that day, but I think it's premature right now to refinance and lose our TIF funds. I mean, that's an incentive to bring development into this. I think it's a no-brainer. It makes no sense to refinance right now. We're working with one developer. If that one maybe comes in, great. If they don't, we at least still have that kitty there to try to entice the next developer to come in. I agree. As we get closer to that date, we'd rather have to consider refinancing, but I think right now it's premature. I think we're on the right course.
I just want to say, and certainly the charge that you gave me, that $2 million was going to be available and it was going to be looked at as possibly a project that would be in phases, is exactly what got people looking at the project. So,
good. Anything else on this one? Okay, we have some items here recommended for consent agenda. Any of those do we need to discuss? Hiring retainers for part-time police officers, it was all in the packet. Anyone have any questions on that? Prevailing wage ordinance?
I just had a comment. I wasn't sure where to slide it in, so since we're talking about the police department, I'm going to slide it in. The torch run is tomorrow with the police department, correct?
That is correct.
So I just wanted to slide that in with the PD because there was really no clean place in the agenda to throw that in. Rich could update us.
The torch runs starts at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning for the Special Olympics. It's the County leg. I don't know if you probably be community in the King County leg of it. We'll start off at Blackberry, Kennedy Road, come down Kennedy Road to Q Road, and from Q it'll go to 34 and 47 to the park up around 47. It's going to be a little bit of a traffic nightmare tomorrow. We'll do the best we can to make everything smooth. We just ask for patience from the public because it is for our Special Olympics and it is a big cost. So especially Special Olympians start off at 47 and 34 and then go to the park as well. So if you haven't seen it, I would recommend people should go out and see it. It's a neat event that last night.
What time was that again?
Starts at 9. It usually ends up about quarter to 10, as long as it's just as fast as we can run the course there.
Okay, thank you. Prevailing wage ordinance, it's something we do every year. Everybody consent unless there's any comments or questions. City Code regarding the musical entertainments. You want to give us a quick sentence on that?
We have a music entertainment license, and we've never issued one, so we're proposing to.
Monthly treasury report was in the packet, unless there's any comments or questions on it. Okay, the next are all informational items. I think we can pretty much skip the building permit report, inspection report, property maintenance, it's all in the packet, unless there's specific questions. I would like to hear some more on Route 47. I want to get an update on that.
So in general, still don't have a phase plan yet. That hasn't changed since last week. But in general, the cost, we thought it was going to be really expensive, and then we thought that it was budgeted for it to be really expensive, and it came in really expensive. So we're about $100,000 over where we had budgeted over a 10-year period, which isn't the worst thing in the world because it averages out to about $9,600 a year for 10 years of overages. So, we will expend probably $9,600 more than we budgeted for this fiscal year, but future fiscal years will change it. That all depends on whether there's change orders in the project too, obviously. We do have a plan to remove about $100,000 worth of sewer and water lines. And so when all those things are finalized in the next couple months, we'll know whether that came right in that. So it ended up being about $3.3 million, or just a hair under. So we had budgeted about 3.2.
Comments, questions on Route 47 update? How about a quick sentence on Glen Palmer Dam?
The state has officially turned over maintenance to us and obligations, but they are actually in litigation with the contractor to complete the banks and sidewalks. So, the thought is that someday they will come back through and probably rip out most of the banks and replace them. We just don't know when and at whose dollar. So the state has kind of realized that it probably needs to be done for us to take on the maintenance of that. But we don't have liability or maintenance obligations yet, obviously. They're not looking for us to dump a couple hundred cubic yards of dirt out there. So, but we are mowing the grass and expecting the rain.
One thing that did come up with a resident and with my own kids is when they go on that island, I see a lot of kids jumping on the rocks that are out in the river, big rocks. One of those rocks are wet, some kid's going to slip in there and go down the river. Is there anything we can do about that? I mean, even signage, watch your kids or something.
What sign work?
Do we have to go outside to say that?
I don't know.
It's just going to fit in here, Chris.
Okay. Police reports are in the factory. Rich, is there anything you want to tell us about other warning sirens? Looks like we're very close to finishing.
A quick thing on one of the warning sirens. Looks like Public Works probably saved us about $10,000 on the trenching on that. So, what do we say?
So, putting that towards Route 47?
That'll go for the next weather warning siren.
Now, it looks like we're at the end of the process. They've been connected. ComEd's already scheduled to come out.
Yep, in the next 10 days.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
On that, I just want to apologize to all the kids at Raintree Subdivision who gathered around their shiny weather siren on Tuesday at 10 a.m. to hear it go off, to the disappointment of the siren not going off. So I promised the kids at Raintree the first Tuesday of next month at 10 a.m. that siren's going to go off. So I'm depending on that siren to go off next month at 10 a.m. So I'm going to have a bunch of upset kids. I don't know really that. They did. They gathered around the siren to hear it go off, and they did not.
Not our school, obviously.
No, circuit kids from subdivision.
Oh, from subdivision.
Yeah.
Bring it up this from the new sirens.
Thank you.
Other than Raintree, where are the other ones?
The other three, there was one over in Bristol Bay by the fire department. The other one was at Kennedy Road over by Allen Creek. The one over there by the middle school.
We don't have full coverage with those three. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
And just a follow-up. I know staff has worked on this for a long time, and we're hopefully near the end here, but once this matter is resolved, I still want us to look at our lightning detectors for our parks.
Yes.
That's going to be, in my mind, phase 2 of this, because I know we're lacking in some areas, and we need some type of a plan. I know there's a funding mechanism in place with new development, but I want to see what's left in that fund and take a good hard look at what it's going to take to get those parks with some lightning detectors.
Yeah, I think especially bridge is high priority. I mean, you have tournaments going on, you have hundreds of people there at any time. It'd be nice to. What does lightning detectors cost? What do they change on things?
Honestly, I want to say those were between $5,000 and $10,000. They were not cheap.
There were service contracts that go to keep them.
Good discussion with the park board. MFT expenditure statement, it's in the packet, traffic signal maintenance refund, we gotta discuss the refund.
We did. We actually came in under budget. We will have $89,805 back into our MFT account after this is approved, as unobligated funds that we use towards other MFT, such as the property.
Nice. Any comments or questions on that? Annual MPDES permit report. Informational, that's stormwater management plans for the packet. Unless there's any comments or questions on it. Safe routes to school, I think that warrants a quick update. Laura?
I'm going to give this one to Brad.
Right.
Flip-flop. Yeah, it's just an update. Since the last time you have seen the proposed plan, we met with some state representatives and walked the site, discussed some more of the project. Basically, in front of you, you have a new updated plan, which was actually the final design was submitted last Friday to the state. But the biggest change is that Eustis basically was not eligible. Those 2 blocks of Eustis that were in the original plan. Reason being is the way the current situation is the existing sidewalk for about 90% of those 2 blocks is outside of the existing city right-of-way. Basically making it at this point ineligible to be used for the federal funds that we have for the program. If it were to be included, we would have to follow the federal land acquisition process and also do a formal phase 1 study. At this point in time, we're to have this project completed by next August. It takes 12 to 18 months to approve of phase 1, and you have to acquire the property. We don't have the time, we don't have the money necessarily to go about it that way. So, therefore, the sidewalk along Eustis had to be dropped from that program. We are recommending, in consultation with the rest of the city staff, to proceed with replacing of that sidewalk elsewhere through a 5-year capital program project. We should still pursue easements, decide on the policy how to handle the trees along Eustis, move forward with a separate project, but it had to be dropped from the Safe Routes to School project. So right now, we're still targeting a fall letting with construction starting in the spring.
The sidewalks being dropped there, they have sidewalks, they're not good condition.
Yes.
If we go ahead and we're not in this plan, then we don't have to have the width. So when we do replace them, if the city does, we're not locked into that with more traditional ones.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
The public meeting that we've discussed,
yes,
informational meeting, and in your memo you're saying that we'll be hosting public meetings probably later this summer. So, I mean, summer's almost here. What's your time frame on that?
That's something we'll be talking about here shortly, but it's something we need to do here before we hit the letting date and before we submit our final plans and specifications. So sometime between now and mid-July is when we would have to schedule that. So in the next month, plus or minus, is when we'll have to schedule that public meeting.
Because I don't see a need for a second meeting if you're going to have one that soon. To me, the whole purpose is to let the residents know this is happening, and so there's no surprises. Like I've said before, we've got sidewalks going where there never were sidewalks, and that's going to, some people are going to be bothered by that, and I think we just have to be upfront with them and be there to answer any questions. And if you can do it that soon, I think the sooner the better.
Another question on the Christmas Street. If we go ahead down the line, would we still have to get the easements? I know I know we have some already, but.
Yeah, no, you can't go sidewalk back to your bank.
So we still have to. And thank you, I'm glad to see it's in front of the school.
Okay, anything else on the Safe Routes? And again, that is informational at this point. Budget report is in the packet, unless there's any comments or questions. Yes, Jane? Yes, ma'am.
Backtrack to sidewalks, I don't know how we can address this. If people have their plantings over the sidewalks, what do we do about that? Like if you can't walk down a sidewalk because someone's bush is so big? say like trees low.
The best way would be to notify you, talk to them before you just go out there and chop them.
Most of the time, we just actually put a letter on their door that says, maybe I'm going to hang the branch, if you'd like to trim it, fine, if not, we will be around the trim.
If it's a tree that's in the parkway, then you handle trimming that, or is it up to the resident?
No, I mean, we still give them the choice because some residents, or a lot of residents, will not like to take care of that tree to trim it up, but we still usually go up, we have to trim it.
I just noticed there's some spots that
There it is.
sidewalks are impassable. Thank you.
Okay, any questions on budget report or cash statement? Library board, annual report, they're required to give this every year. I told Michelle she could just give us the annual report, or no need for her to come and present it. If anybody wants her to come and talk about it, we can definitely invite her to a future meeting if anyone wants to. Other than that, I'll let you answer it in the packet. Next, that concludes all the regular business. We do have an executive session. Let's move additional business up so we don't have to come back and do any discussion or anything. Is there any additional business?
I just had a call from a resident today. I talked to Eric and the chief about it. Gone Lane. There's been a question if it's private versus city from spring to where it turns. And repairs it. I drove down there, it wasn't, it needs some repairs, and there's also complaint that there's a lot of stone, I guess when it rains or when we plow. So, is there a way to clarify this? I know since I've been on council, this is the first time I've heard this come up as to, is it our street or is it a private way? And the resident would like some clarification, so.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Juice has an answer for
I
you.
know, you said it was a lot.
I believe it's private. I've never heard of definitive plat that says private road, but
I always heard it was private too, but there's some understanding.
It shows up in our GIS database too as private, which our GIS coordinator would have covered research that when he entered it. So I know that there's some question that the city might have paved the road at some point 3 decades ago, or maintained it at some point, but we don't have ownership of it.
Did we run store down that way?
we've done social, we've had sanitary.
Did we pave it at that point? But that wasn't because it was ours, it was just nice.
Still be torn up.
Is there anything we can do about the gravel at the end? I know.
Private road.
Even then. Well, that's true. Okay, never mind. So I will just go back.
Any other additional business? Hearing none, we will retire into executive session.
Sorry.
Yes.
I just wanted to let you guys know that Stephanie Beery from Relay for Life, she was going to be here tonight. She couldn't at the last minute, but that's the reason we have purple out front. It's not because we're supporting Plano. We asked them to do red, but their color is purple. So Relay for Life is June 22nd, 23rd at Sandwich High School this year. It's Fox Valley, is us, Plano, and Sandwich. They do the walkout out here. So this year it's at Sandwich. Begins at 6 p.m. Survivor activities begin at 4:30 p.m. inside the school. For more information, people can go to www.relayforlife.org/lowerfoxill, or they can contact her directly at stephanie.beery@cancer.org.
Anything else?